All right, we're going to do an orthographic projection drawing of a tissue box. The first thing I'm going to do is measure my tissue box, and as I see it, as it's standing up from the front, the first view we're going to do is from the front. So I see my tissue box is 5 inches tall and 4 1/4 inches wide. So I'm going to double click on my rectangle tool. I'm going to see here the width of my tissue box is 4 1/4 inches. So I'm going to enter 4.25 inches. And I said the height was 5 inches. I'm going to put 5 inches of the height. I'm going to hit tab again. And now you see that 4.25 inches turned to 4 1/4 inches. My height of 5 inches is there. And it asks me right here where I would like to drop this shape. And I'm going to say I want to drop it on center. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to drop that shape right on center. Now, as you can see, the shape is very small. That is because we are not working in a layer that has any kind of scale yet, and I am just drawing something very small, a tissue box. So if I take my mouse, I'm just going to scroll in closer so this is a little bigger for us to look at. So here is my front view of my tissue box. So now I can kind of trace out, and I'm going to draw the lines across, and I'm going to do a left side view of the tissue box. What would that look like? The same as the front. So a couple different things you could do. I could reference this line here. I could hover over the point. That red box pops up, and I can come over here a little bit, and now I'm going to click here and come down. I'm going to reference this other point, lock that in with my rectangle tool. I'm going to make that click, and now I know that the tissue box is 4 1/4 inches wide, so I'm just going to hit the tab once and do 4.25 inches, hit tab again, and return, and then my next click, there we go. Now I have my front view and a side view, and up here I'm going to put my top view. But while we're right here, and while I can show you a nice little feature, if you ever needed to mirror the exact same shape, so because this tissue box is 5 inches tall and 4 1/4 inches wide, and it is a square, I can just use the mirror tool to get this shape if I chose to do so. So I showed you how to reference the points and pull the shape over here and draw it. But now I'm going to hit delete, and I'm just going to select this shape, and I'm going to go right over here. This is something we'll talk about later, but this is your mirror tool. I'm going to click on that, and now I can draw an axis wherever I want. So here's my shape. I can just come out here somewhere, and I click here, and see that other shape? Wherever I put this line, it's going to flip that shape on that line. But if I go completely vertical, it's just going to mirror the image right over. So now I still have a front view and a side view. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out a little and reposition myself just a little. But I'm going to measure the top of this box and just verify that while it is 5 inches tall and 4 1/4 inches wide on each side, that the top measurements the same or not. It looks like it is 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. So that seems odd because we could look at this right here and see that this is 4 1/4. And this is 4 1/4. So I'm going to assume that the fold on top of the box is causing just a slight extra amount of thickness because it's not a perfectly machined angle. And for the ease of this drawing, and because the shape that we're drawing already leads us to know, to deduce what the size of the top portion of this tissue box would be, I'm going to go with that. And I'm basically only saying that because I just measured the top and was like, wait, that wasn't the measurement. That can't be. Of course it can't be because we did 2 sides, and if it is a tissue box, it's going to be those measurements on the matching sides of the box. So here's what we'll do. We'll grab our rectangle tool. We can double click, and we know that the width, 4 1/4, correct. The other side, again, 4.25 inches or 4 1/4. Hit tab right there. And now I'm going to drop, this time I'm going to select to drop at the bottom center, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. But I'm going to select here. Good. I'm going to click OK. I have my shape. And now what I can do is reference this and come up here a little bit. Boop. And I just drop that shape right there. So now I have my top view, front view, and side view. I'm going to add one more detail because I think it might be nice to just talk about how to do a little bit of drafting here for another shape that lives within. But the top of the tissue box has the opening for the tissues to come out. So I'm going to do a quick measurement of the top of the tissue box and see that that oval opening is approximately 3 5/8 tall and 3 1/8 wide. So 3 5/8 by 3 1/8. So I'm going to come over here to my oval tool. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to say, I said the height was 3, and I don't know the decimal number for 5/8, but 5/8 will work here. 3 5/8 is the height. And I said 3 1/8 inch for the width. And now this, I want to drop this on center. Why? Because I can reference the top of the shape that we already drew. And I can center it on the centerpiece here, and it should drop that shape right on center. So I've programmed that. I'm going to grab the shape, go over here. Look, it references center, and when I drop it, bam, there is the oval in the top. Some people could measure the width from the edge of the box on the top and the bottom and on the sides, and then make little reference points and draw an oval in specific ways. There are so many ways you can do it, but you will continue to learn. I continue to learn from people in the industry, from my peers, little tricks and ways to do something just a little bit faster in Vectorworks. Or change your workflow just slightly. So, there are definitely best practices, but always be willing to explore a different way to do something in this drafting program. And that will not conclude us. Actually, we should label this. So just for the purposes of this assignment, what I would do is I would come in here and I would say, here we go. That font's going to be huge. I'm going to say front view. But now while I have this here, I'm going to go ahead and come over here to this info, and I'm going to drop the size of this font down way low. This might force us to kind of move some things around. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's do this right now. So we haven't talked about a drawing in scale yet, but this is going to help us with this text. So this drawing right here, if we put it in scale, if we come up here to the layer that it's in, and we click on this little box, and we say show organizational or organization dialog box, click on that, and if you double click this design layer, it's already in 1/4 inch scale by default. So let's just go over here for the purposes of this drawing, and we're just going to drop it in 1:1 scale, meaning 1 inch is 1 inch. We're going to say all layers. We're going to scale the text. Actually, we don't need to scale the text. Okay, that design layer, we haven't named it, that's fine. Now when we zoom out, now we see right here, our text is very little. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and pump it back up to 24. And that's probably not even big enough for this right here. Could make it a little larger. This is not super important because we will talk about plating your drawings and things like this very soon. So this is just labeled for me to understand what you've done in your drawing. All right, so I have this. I'm just going to hit Control or Command, depending on your platform, C, and then I'll copy, and then I'm going to paste it again and double click in here, and I'm going to say this is a side view. I'm going to double click outside of there, or I'm going to hit my X key, grab the side view, and pull this over here, get it referenced. There you see it snapping those 2 reference points, so it's all lined up. There's my side view. Now this front view, I can probably zoom in a little bit and get it lined up with the bottom of here, just so we're nice and a little tidied up. If it will actually reference, here we go. You will find in Vectorworks, sometimes you have to zoom in a bit to get it to reference something. Okay, I'm going to copy, click up here, paste that again, and now I'm going to say plan view or top view, whichever you wanted to use. And I'll pull this out here because it'll be a little easier to reference center. And then boop, pull that down a little bit. And now you see these points, see those line up? This is how you would make this drawing so that you accurately represent each side of the shape. Then we're going to, you should always back up, even though I pressed not to right then. We're going to save as, and I'm going to save with my last name underscore object project. And then I'm going to save that in here. And we're all done. And submit that project the way it says to online.